آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Can everyone hear me okay? Oh, fantastic. Okay. It's very nice to be with you here. This is my first time in Penang. And today we actually went to 3 different states in one day. Because we flew in the morning from Kelantan to KL. And then from KL back here, all in one day. And my interest here especially is to find out what strange foods you guys have. Because in Kelantan I tried budu, and it wasn't that bad. I think chinchalu is 4 times worse than budu. I will take a bath with budu before I eat chinchalu. So let's see what exciting foods you guys have here, inshallah. Alright, so first of all, thank you for coming, because I understand what it means when you give up a portion of your evening to attend a lecture. But the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever seeks a path towards knowledge, Allah will facilitate a path towards paradise for them. So I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to facilitate a path towards paradise for all of you. Now, our lecture is, we're talking about religion and freedom. And I want to start with something the George Bush, the president, the last George Bush, he said after 9/11, when he was asked by reporters, why did they attack us? And he said, because they hate freedom. Yeah, and it was a very, very dumb answer, you know. And of course, everything he said was dumb anyways. But he said, they hate freedom. And then some professors and people at university started to repeat that. Oh, we were attacked because some people hate freedom. And there were so many things wrong with this answer, and so many things wrong with this explanation. The first thing, as Muslim scholars explained, there's nobody on earth who hates freedom. Just show me one person, one religion, one individual on this planet who hates freedom. They would like to be in a jailhouse somewhere, or chained up to a wall where they can't even scratch their own nose. Who hates freedom? That's the first thing. The second thing, who hates freedom so much that they want to attack someone who's free? And the third thing, who told you you're the freest people on earth? These are just assumptions people make. So if someone hates freedom, they're going to attack America? Maybe they should attack some other place, maybe not America. And I remember I would always meet people in the United States, and they would say, oh, I'm sure you enjoy your freedom here. I said, listen, before coming here, I came from Africa. Now that's freedom. You know what I'm talking about? So like, you want to assume that you're more free in America than you are in Africa, but in Africa, nobody tells you what to do. It's a mess. I wish there was some lack of freedom there. Yeah? Some more organization and structure. But nobody tells you what speed to drive, nobody tells you to pay taxes, nobody tells you to do anything. So perhaps if someone hates freedom, they should attack Africa, not attack America. And that's the thing when you keep telling people that they're free, even if you take away some of their freedoms, they keep believing that they're free. And typically, people in the Western world, they live in a very regimented and very restricted type of lifestyle. I was talking to someone in Virginia, the Washington D.C. area, and I was telling him about Islam, and the first thing I explained to him what the word Muslim means, and I told him that the Muslim is the one who submits to his Lord, to his Creator. So he interrupted very quickly. He said, I have a problem with submitting. I have a big problem with submitting to anything. And I immediately told him, but you do submit all the time, every single day. And he quickly said, yes, you're right. Because you can't live in the West and tell me I have a big problem submitting. You're submitting all the time. Everything you do is based on submission. You get in your car and all the laws of driving are based on submission. Stop at the red light, stop at the stop sign, go at this speed, you can't go at that speed. You have to stop when everyone else stops. That's all submitting to laws of society. So who can argue that, oh, I don't like to submit and I want to be free to do whatever I want. I want absolute freedom. And that's the first thing we want to establish in this lecture, is that there's no such thing for human beings as absolute freedom. Because human beings, we have restrictions. absolute freedom only applies to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah Azza wa Jal is the only one that has absolute freedom. Why? Because He is all powerful and He's all knowing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all powerful. He can do whatever He wants. And He knows what has happened, what is happening, and what will happen in the future. And various different outcomes in the future as well. So because of this, and because of these descriptions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has absolute freedom. And there's absolutely no way that human beings could have that same thing. It's just absolutely impossible. We're limited in terms of our knowledge. We're limited in terms of our power and our abilities. And that's why in the Qur'an Allah says, وَاللَّهُ يَفْعَلُ مَا يَشَاءُ. And Allah does whatever He pleases. But who on this planet can do whatever He pleases? And pick whoever you want. Even if it's the richest person, even the most powerful person on earth, can they do whatever they please? No, they don't. No, they can't. It's absolutely impossible for them. So, someone says, I want to do whatever I want to do. And I also want to do whatever I can do. So if I can do something, I'll do it. Yeah. Like someone might oppress someone, and they say, why did you do that? He'll say, well, because I could. I could do it, so I did it. But you know something? Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we said He is all powerful, and nobody restricts Allah. Nobody tells Allah you can or can't do this. But even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is all powerful, and He can do what He pleases, He also doesn't do everything He can do. What does that mean? Allah doesn't do everything He can do. For example, Allah has the power to be unjust. True or false? Allah can be unfair to you. Yes or no? He can. But does He do that? No. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, basically in the hadith and also in verses of the Qur'an, إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَتَبَ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ الرَّحْمَةِ. Or in the hadith, إِنِّي حَرَّمْتُ الظُّلْمَ عَلَى نَفْسِي. When Allah says, I made injustice prohibited and haram upon myself. Or that Allah decreed mercy upon Himself. So that means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He wanted to, He could have been unjust. But He made it so that He will never be unjust to anyone. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not doing everything He can do. Why should a human being who's limited then decide that if I can do it, I'll do it. I want to do it because I can. That doesn't make any sense. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't have the same conditions for Himself. The other thing is that the scholars say, how do we know that Allah can do injustice? Because He praised Himself for not doing injustice. Meaning, if you praise someone for not doing something, they must have been able to do it. Let me give you a simple example. So someone is paralyzed. May Allah protect all of you and your family. But someone is paralyzed, sitting in a chair. And then one person comes and insults this paralyzed person, insults him severely. And then I tell you the story. So the brother who's paralyzed was being insulted by this other person. But mashallah, the brother who's paralyzed, he never laid a hand on him. He didn't hit the other guy. Would you think that's praiseworthy? He's paralyzed. He can't hit him if he wanted to. So you cannot praise someone for doing something they're not able to do. Someone is chained up. Someone comes and slaps him. And he said, Wallahi, I control myself. I'm not going to hit you back. You're chained up, Habibi. You have no way of hitting him back. So I'm not going to praise you. Wallahi, mashallah, that brother controls himself very well. No, I think he's controlled by the chains. He has no control over the situation. So when someone is praised for not doing something, that means they're able to do it to begin with. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised Himself for having mercy, for being just. That means He could have been unjust. But as we all know, that is not befitting of the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is not befitting of the majesty of Allah. And He only does things that befit His greatness. As one time, it might be slightly off topic, but one time someone asked me, isn't God capable of doing whatever He wants? I said, yeah. He said, well, can't He have a son if He wanted to? If God wanted to have a son, why can't He have a son? Who are you to stop Him? And the answer, of course, is that Allah will only do things that befit His greatness and His majesty. So I asked this person back, said, can Allah lie? And he was quiet. Can God steal from someone? And he was quiet. Can God murder someone? Not kill. Murder is different. Murder is an unjustifiable homicide. Can he do that? And the person was quiet. He said, listen, so God only does things that befit His greatness and His majesty. And begetting and having a son, that's good for me and you. Because we grow old and our children take care of us. And we die and they continue our name and our memory. But this is not the case for Allah or for God. And that's why it's not a good thing in His case. It does not befit the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're saying that as created beings, we're limited. And this limitation does not allow us to be absolutely free, as many people claim to be. Oh, I don't want to follow any religion because religion restricts you and I want to be able to be free. We're going to explain how this is wrong, this thought and this idea in a little bit, inshallah azza wa jal. So we said that you're, as a created being, you are limited, that's one. And on top of that, you're under the control of the Creator. True or false? You're under the control of the Creator. You can't do as you please because you're not able to will everything. So your life is a combination of things within your control and things beyond your control. So right now, anyone in this room can get up and leave and walk out. That's within your control. That's a decision that you make. But not every decision that you make will come true exactly, unless Allah allows for it. So no one can say, well, I'm going to get up and leave this room, and I'm going to get home and find $10 million at the house. I willed it. Well, good luck. Let me know when you find nothing. Yeah? It doesn't work like that. Or someone say, I'm going to get up and leave this room, I'm going to drive back home, and I'm going to get home safely. That's not within your control. May Allah keep you all safe. But it's not within your control. Or someone will say, I want to die later on as an old man from natural causes with my whole family, children and grandchildren around the bed, and I will say some romantic words of wisdom to them and then die. Good luck with that when the bus hits you. So that means that we're not able to will whatever we want. And even what we will, what we decide to do, is contingent upon Allah Azza wa Jal allowing us to do it or not allowing us to do it. And that's the situation, and you can't deny that, right? So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever He wills something, He just says to it, kun fayakun, be, and it becomes immediately. But none of us have that ability. Humans don't have that. So human freedom is limited because of a number of things so far that we've covered. Number one, because human knowledge is limited and human power is limited. So you can't have unlimited freedom. The second thing, because our will is, whatever we will is contingent upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowing it to happen or not allowing it to happen. We don't have that ability to say be and it becomes like Allah Azza wa Jal. So again, that limits from what people claim to be absolute freedom. Nobody has that. And also very logically, because, and this is the third point, because we are governed by the laws of nature and societal values and societal norms. How are we governed by the laws of nature? Someone wants to fly. That's a type of freedom, isn't it? Being able to fly. But you're governed by the laws of nature. You're not a bird. You're not able to do that. So that restricts you just naturally. Laws restrict you. You can't jump up and not come down. The law of gravity restricts you. So naturally you're restricted. So these people who claim to want absolute freedom, it's not making any sense at all. And they know from their life, from their daily routine, that they don't have access to that. And they're not able to do that. And we said then societal values also restrict you. Actions of other people restrict you. Why? Because they might object to what you want to do. I made a decision in life, but other people in society will object to it. Why would they object? Because it might be not in their best interest for you to do it, or harmful for them for you to do whatever you want to do. And we have customs and traditions that govern you. Mind you, these customs and traditions that stop you and restrict you, they're not even enforced anywhere. They're not enforced, but you're still restricted by them. Just by the idea existing out there restricts you. And as human beings, we're social beings. We're affected by each other in that way. So even those who claim to be free, even those who are free and claim to be free, they are free within this context. Meaning, they are free within what Allah allowed them to do. They are free within their limit of power. They are free within their knowledge. They are free within the rules of society. And they are free within the rules of nature. So you see already these free people, how they're so restricted. So within these circles, now they've got some degree of freedom. Now, on top of all that, now they're free in the sense that they can do good or they can do evil. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us this option, and He mentioned it in the Qur'an. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Whoever decides, whoever wills, then let him believe, and whoever wants to, let him disbelieve. This verse shows you that you have the option to do both. You have the option to believe in Allah, and you have the option to disbelieve in Allah. So when someone argues with you, am I supposed to be using this one or this one? This one? Okay. When someone argues with you that you've chosen a religion, therefore you're not free, and I chose to not have a religion, so I'm free. They both made a choice, right? This verse said it, that this person decided to believe, this person decided to not believe. So if you decided to not believe, how are you more free than me? I decided to believe. We both made a decision. Yeah? It's not like I was born to believe, and then you were free, and you made your own decision to not believe. No, both of us made a conscious decision to either believe or not believe. So we're already on the same playing field. Why do you assume you're more free than I am? Because you chose to not believe, and I chose to believe. I chose to believe in Allah Azza wa Jalla. It was not like I wanted to disbelieve, but something's just forcing me to pray. And why am I praying? Something's forcing me to obey Allah and be practicing Muslim. No, I made the choice. It was a conscious choice, conscious decision. So we said, then Allah doesn't force you to either believe or not believe. But you are held responsible for your choice in front of Allah, in front of God, and in front of other people. Whatever choice you make, you're held responsible also in front of other people in society. And so that's why, and if you were to kill someone, society would punish you. And then you would have to deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of resurrection as well. So one thing we want to stress is that freedom to act doesn't mean that you don't abide by any laws and that you don't follow anything. And we said that's not possible. We cannot have anyone on earth who does not abide by any laws or follow anything at all. That's why, once again, just the idea of absolute freedom doesn't make any sense. You cannot not abide by any laws. Oh, someone said, no, I can abide. I don't have to abide by any law. I'm going to go and live just in the middle of the wilderness, open green pasture. No one's going to tell me anything. I'm going to make my own laws. Actually, I'm not going to have any laws. Sorry. You're going to have a lot of laws. And some of them are just going to be biological. You're going to sleep and wake up. Someone says, I'm not even going to sleep. Good luck. Yeah? Or I'll do whatever I want. I want to fly to the mountaintop. I'll fly. Tell me, what are you smoking? That's not how life works. So even if you live in the middle of the wilderness, you're still going to be restricted by some laws. So freedom to act doesn't mean that I don't abide by laws. For example, you come to a traffic light, what do? You stop. It's true, at some level you stop because you're told to stop at the red light. But also, as thinking human beings, we also convinced ourselves that it's a good idea to stop at the red light. Do you agree? I hope so. So it's a good idea to stop at the red light. First you were told, but then you convinced yourself. So if I stop at a red light, does that mean I have no freedom? And I've been restricted by society and I've been oppressed? So every time I stop at a red light, when it turns green, I feel relieved, but I feel really bad and dirty. Like, look, I stopped at the red light. I'm so restricted by this issue. And this bothers me every day that I stop at red lights. Does it bother you? So you abide by this law, but do you feel that it restricts your freedom? No. So we said freedom doesn't mean that you don't abide by a law. You can abide by laws, follow laws, and still be free. and you're also free in your decision to act upon these laws or to decide to follow or not to follow. So we said that your actions can be willful, yet you abide by the laws of society and you abide by the laws of religion. You know what I mean by your actions can be willful? Because many people assume that if you're a religious person, then all your freedoms have been taken away and you only do it because the religion said so. No, we're saying one more time, your actions are willful. So I willfully obeyed the laws of society. I willfully obeyed the laws of religion. How does that take away my freedom? I'm free to willfully abide by them. I'm also free to disobey them. So how does religion take away freedom? You understand? Like on a philosophical level, it doesn't make any sense to say, well, I don't want to follow a religion because that will restrict my freedom. Okay, but I was free to leave this religion and I was free to join it, and now I joined it. And now I'm free to not follow its laws, but I made a willful, conscious decision to follow them. So I'm free in making that decision. So how does religion restrict my freedom then? You understand? And I know the other meaning that people intend, we're getting to that in a second, inshallah. We want to, and here it is, we want to argue that those who say that that religion restricts your freedom, or I am more free because I don't follow a religion, is this really realistic to say that I am more free because I don't follow a religion? But you do follow laws, and you are free to willfully follow these laws. Yeah? Because I made a free choice to stop at the red light. I could have gone and then dealt with the consequences, but I was free to stop there. So being free to do something, it's being free to do it or being free to not do it. So I'm free to make a choice that I don't want to consume alcohol. And I'm also free to make a choice that I want to consume it. So why does the non-religious person think that the one who consumes it is free? Because he willfully decided to drink it. But the one who willfully decided to not drink it is not free. They both willfully decided it. Are we clear? That's why I don't like philosophy. Sometimes it goes in a circle. Huh? But we both made a conscious decision. We both willfully decided something. We both are restricted by certain laws, whether they be human or divine. In the end, you're not any more free than I am because you don't have a religion. I want to argue the opposite. We all understood this point, but if we take it further, we will see that the religious person is actually more free than the one who has no restrictions, or they think they have no restrictions. First of all, let me comment from a psychological standpoint. And psychologists say that not having structure in your life actually doesn't free you. It actually shackles you more. When you don't have a routine and you don't have a system, it shackles you. For example, someone might say, let me quit my job because I want to write a book. So they'll quit their job and they will not write anything for months. Just moping around the house, wake up, do this, go, come back, watch TV, watch the news. Oh, I'll go fishing, it will open my creative mind. And then every day you're fishing and nothing happened. And you're not even catching fish even. What an embarrassment. At least catch some fish. The point is, the psychologists will tell you, if you have a schedule and a regiment, there's more of a chance of you writing that book. So I go to work from 9 in the morning until 5 p.m. And then with Malaysian traffic, I come home at 9 p.m. Okay, I'm kidding. So by the time you get home, I have my routine. I've got my meal, and I even have now the time where I write the book. I have a specific time slot for writing. That's more structured than I wake up whenever I wake up, brush my teeth whenever I brush my teeth, and then whenever I sit down and write the book. That's not structured. And actually, religion creates structure. Actually, interestingly, in the Jewish religion, the word for prayer is the same word for order. You see that? The word for prayer is the same word for order. And even our prayers, our salawat, they create a structure in your life, in your daily life, and they help you create a routine as well. And actually that helps people do what they want to do more so when they have structure than versus when everything is just a complete mess. And we're saying that the person who is religious, who made conscious decisions to stay away from things, is more free than the one who wants to do whatever they please. Because, and as Muslims you all understand why. Because the one who does whatever they please within the context that we explained, this person in the end becomes a slave to their desires. This is a concept that Muslims are very familiar with, right? Someone becomes a slave to their desires. So you were first arguing that I'm free to drink wine. And you're not free because you decided to not drink it. I am more free than you because I decided to drink it. Okay, drink it. Then he drinks. And then what happens? Of course, not all the time, but just in certain scenarios, they become addicted to it. They become an addict. So now how free are you? Now let's bring you and that religious person that made the 10 years ago decided to not drink. We bring you who decided to drink 10 years later. You're addicted to it. Your life is tied to it and your life is miserable. And now you're arguing you're free. People becoming addicted to all kinds of things. Any kind of, a desire, people become addicted to it. And they become enslaved to it. Even though in the beginning they thought they were free to choose this thing or not choose it. You see how? And it actually can backfire on people. And that's exactly the difference between human beings and animals. That animals, they desire something, they do it immediately. They desire to eat, they eat. They don't fast, abstain from eating. No giraffe goes on a diet, or maybe elephants should go on diet more than giraffes, or hippopotamus should go on a diet. They just eat whenever they want to eat. They want to sleep, they sleep. They want to relieve themselves. You've probably all seen this at the zoo. Very embarrassing. They just relieve themselves, And other things, we're not going to get into details. They just do it whenever they want to do. Because they have no self-control. And that's the difference between humans and animals. It's not physical differences. When we were in school, they used to teach us the difference between humans and animals, the opposable thumb. Really? That's the only difference between me and a zebra? This? No, that's a physical difference. The difference between humans and animals is that animals don't exhibit self-control. And humans can control themselves. And that's what we learn in Ramadan when we abstain from eating and drinking from sun up to sundown. That's physical. But we also abstain from bad words, from lying, from all kinds of things. We learn self-control. And that's what sets apart humans from animals. Sets humans apart from animals. As we were saying when we were discussing the sin of zina, fornication. The scholars talked about how it's such a dangerous sin because it takes away adamiyat al-adami. Adami, human being. It takes away the human side of the human being. How? Because they say even animals, when they mate, most animals have a season. Some in the winter or the fall, and it's long day breeders, short day breeders. Some only mate when the female is ovulating. And if she's not ovulating, they don't go near her. And almost, with the exception of one animal in this whole world that scientists are disagreeing about. But no animal will mate with a pregnant female. No animal will ever mate with a pregnant female. But, you understand? So now the human being will commit zina, will fornicate with a woman who's pregnant. They don't care. Animals don't do it. So that's why the scholar said it makes you lower than the animal. And again, most animals, the pregnant female, if a male comes near her, she'll go crazy and attack him savagely. From even little mice and rats and rodents and hamsters to all types of animals will not accept that whatsoever. And that's why the human being should be superior to that. Not act beneath the animal and then becoming a slave to their desires. You control your desires as a human being. You are not controlled by them. And part of that is the conscious decision to stay away from them. So it's not like we're blindly following something because God said so in the Qur'an. No, we understand the wisdom and the benefit of staying away from something as well. And then we are free to make that choice to follow that rule. And we're also free to break that rule if we want to. But either way, you have to face the consequences. You're free to consume the alcohol, drink, and you will face the consequences. And you're free to abstain from it, and you get your consequences in the sense of reward as well. Are we clear on that? Okay. So now, sometimes within Islam, you'll find people, let's just call them, for lack of a better term, non-practicing Muslims, who will talk about how, Islam there are many rules, or it's strict. And this is one thing that you will find to be true, inshallah, for the rest of your life. And that is, the more you study Islam, the more you'll see how flexible it is. The more you don't know about it, the more you think it's absolutely difficult and everything is haram, everything is prohibited. But the more you study it, the more you see that it's a flexible religion. And actually, as the scholars explain, Islam is strict when it comes to issues of belief, but much more relaxed when it comes to issues of fiqh, of jurisprudence, okay, of prayer and acts of worship and things like that. An example, if someone has some doubt whether Allah is one or two or more, is that acceptable at all in Islam? Is this person even Muslim? Let's be realistic. If someone doesn't even know if Allah is one or two, can they be Muslim? And part of being Muslim is to testify that there's one God and Muhammad ﷺ is his messenger. So if you doubt any of these, are you Muslim? No. Now don't worry, we're not making takfir of anybody. We're saying in general. Now, don't go and point to people. In general, no. So Islam is very, very strict when it comes to issues of belief. Issues of belief, Islam is very strict. If someone has doubt if there's more than one God or not, that's not acceptable. But if I have doubt when I come up from ruku', the bowing position, should my hand go here or should my hands go here? If I have doubt there, is that a big deal? It's okay. Don't worry about it. You can have that doubt and it's not a big deal. And you can clarify and ask a sheikh and do whatever they tell you. No big deal here. You find it to be a lot more relaxed when it comes to issues of practice and dealings and acts of worship. But it's very strict when it comes to issues of belief. But the more, you won't know that unless you study the religion. The more you study it, the more you'll see that it's easy. Many people think there are more haram things in Islam than halal things. Especially youth. Because youth, the way we teach them about Islam, we tell them this is haram. And if you do this, you go to the hellfire. And that's also prohibited, by the way. And that's prohibited too. And don't you dare come near that. And so they think, wow, Islam is a bunch of things that are haram. And that's why when you ask youth, are there more halal things that are haram? They'll tell you more haram for sure. Most things, I learned this from my father. Everything is haram. Okay. So with youth, we do this exercise. And I've done this before, and it's even on YouTube, I'm doing it. But we'll do it again here. Let's list now. Put your hand up and call out material that's haram. Okay, so I'm hearing silk. But silk is not even haram for everybody. It's just haram for men. So silk is prohibited for men in Islam. Alright, what other material is haram? What? Materials. Well, I don't know what I'm hearing. What materials are haram? Someone put their hand up, give me a material that's haram. Okay, thank you. So pig skin, even dog skin, yeah? So like, oh, I've got this nice dog skin jacket I just bought. Congratulations. So alright, fine. So anything made from a skin of something like a dog or a pig. We've got silk. What other material? There's one more, very common one. I think some people were saying it. Gold. And even that, just for men. Alright, so then, what else is haram? Huh? Yeah, but the material is still halal. Yeah, I stole your cotton shirt. It's haram because I stole it, but the cotton is still halal. See, that's it, we're done. All the rest is halal. Because now what happens? People get creative. A guy was, oh, a t-shirt with a face on it. No, the material is still halal. That's another story. A t-shirt with bad words. Okay, yeah, but the material is halal. So now everything else is permissible. And how many things are there? We've got cotton, we've got wool, we've got polyester, we've got nylon. We have 60% nylon, 40% polyester, 70%. Can we keep going or should we stop? I think we should stop, right? All right. What kind of drinks are prohibited in Islam? All right. Alcohol, that's one. Huh? Blood, that's two. What else? From all the drinks in the world, just two things? Just two things are haram to drink? Huh? Anything? Urine. And wait, that's why I was waiting. I was waiting for... every time someone has to say urine, is that a drink? Do you ever go to the fridge? Yeah, let me get some. Would you like some urine? I don't like it when it's warm. It's better cold. It's not a drink. Yeah? You do it with youth. Beer. Okay, that's alcohol. Wine. It's alcohol, habibi. Vodka. Yeah, it's alcohol. Whiskey. We're done. So then every other drink is halal. So there's actually a lot more things that are permissible, but we kind of think that more things are impermissible because we love to focus on these. Muslim favorite word is haram. We love this word so much we don't even say haram. We say it with a frown, with a lot of drama. Brother, haram. That's all you're going to tell me? To explain something to me. Just, haram. Assalamu alaikum. That's the speech, mashallah. Brother, it's haram. We love the haram. Oh my goodness. You know, if you deal with youth, the questions they ask you about halal, haram, just what do you ask? What is this? What kind of question is that? Youth will come up to me and say, is public school haram? What do you mean public school? The walls or what? What is public school? Is it a pig or something? Or public school haram? What? One guy says, is it haram to take your hat off? Imagine I said yes. You would still take it off. So why are you asking me this question? Imagine a young man comes to me, is it haram to take off your hat? And I tell him, yes, young man, it's haram to take off your hat. 5 minutes later, he's going to take it off. Because it doesn't make any sense I have to keep it on all the time. Wash your hair just slowly under it like that. Don't you ever take it off. What will happen if you take it off? All kinds of weird questions because that's how they understand Islam. And that's why whenever we deal with youth, the first lesson is usually about the purposes of the Sharia. You understand the wisdom behind why Allah said, do this or don't do that. It's not just a list of random things you can and can't do, but there's a wisdom behind it. There's a bigger picture for your own betterment and for the betterment of society. Once you understand that, you don't see Islam as a list of things you can't do anymore. You see the wisdom behind why I don't do something. Yeah? And sometimes Allah will tell us to do something, we look at it, we examine it, we find it to be 100% good. Like Tawheed, worshipping Allah alone. If you look at Tawheed, it's 100% good, true or false? Is there 1% bad in Tawheed? No. So that's why when Allah commands us to Tawheed, it's clear why we should follow that, and we obey. Then we look at Shirk, worshipping something besides Allah or something else along with Allah. It's 100% bad, true or false? It's very bad, Shirk. Is there 1% good in Shirk? Huh? Absolutely not. So when Allah says stay away from Shirk, stay away from worshipping any God besides Allah, we stay away from it and it makes sense. Then you find some things that have good and bad in them. But Allah will tell you there is more bad than good. So when Allah makes it prohibited, we can understand the wisdom behind that. A famous example is alcohol. Many times you hear in a medical journal a study that shows if you drink 1 glass of wine a day, it's good for the liver. First of all, it's not the alcohol that's good for the liver. It's the antioxidants and the other things that are good for the liver. But we know this. I don't need a medical journal to tell me this. Allah said this 1,400 years ago in the Qur'an, that there's good in it, but the bad outweighs the good. Even now, if we take a step and think, if we pause for a minute, all the livers in the world today, are they being helped more by alcohol or damaged more? And you know the answer, damaged more. So we know that there's some type of good, but the harm is more, so it's clear for us to stay away. And then sometimes Allah will command us to do something and we cannot necessarily see the wisdom. And notice I'm saying the wisdom, not the reason. Many times people confuse the reason with the wisdom. So you ask Muslim sisters, why do Muslim women wear hijab? And they start to tell you, so the woman hides her beauty, and so that she is not looked at as an object. All these are not the reason. There's only one reason, and that is, sisters, what's the reason Muslim women wear hijab? Naam? The brother's going to answer this question. This is your question. Yes, sister. Oh, okay. Actually here, yes.
Just quite recently I read in Quran, it says that Muslim woman should wear hijab if she doesn't want to be treated inappropriately.
Okay. That's a wisdom behind wearing hijab. What's the reason? Okay, what's the reason? Is it like basically some sisters got together and said, I think we should take a cloth, cut it, and just wrap it around our heads. That's why Muslim women wear hijab. They had a meeting, a conference, and they decided to put it on. Is that what happened? I wasn't invited, so maybe you can tell me. No? Okay, what's the reason? It's really, really easy. It's basic, like 3-year-old. Huh? Allah said so. That's the reason you wear hijab. Allah said wear hijab. What's the wisdom you wear hijab? What's the wisdom behind Allah telling you to wear hijab? Now you can give me 1,001 different wisdoms. What's the reason people pray? Allah said pray. What are the benefits of prayer? Oh, I can write a book on it, right? So the wisdom and the reason are two different things. So now, I know the reason why we circumambulate the Kaaba when we go make tawaf in Mecca. Which direction is it? Clockwise or counterclockwise? Counterclockwise. What's the reason? That's how it was taught to us by Allah and His Messenger ﷺ. What's the wisdom behind going counterclockwise versus clockwise? This is the fourth category. Sometimes we don't necessarily know the wisdom, but as long as I have the reason, I'm okay. But for the most part, alhamdulillah, Allah always tells us, lets us know the wisdom behind why we do something. But there are a few cases when we don't, and then it becomes a test of your submission. Because some people try to give you wisdoms why we circumambulate counterclockwise. But they don't make any sense. Because they say the earth turns counterclockwise. So what? The earth can turn counterclockwise, I turn clockwise. It's not like, oh, it's easier to go with the earth, it's easier. If I go this way, I can go fast. This way, I have to like push. No. They told you, oh, because the heart is on the left. Who studies medicine in here? Yeah? The heart is not really on the left. The heart is kind of centered, but it tilts towards the left. The loudest part is here, towards the left. So that's why they'll tell you, but it's not really there. But so what? Imagine the heart was at the tip of your left finger, all the way to the left, here. Well, I can't make a right turn because my heart's to the left? That has nothing to do with it. So, what's the clear wisdom why we go counterclockwise around the Kaaba? There isn't one. But I know the reason. It's not like Allah's going to leave us blind. I know the reason why we do it. And if I don't have the wisdom specifically, I still do it. Because that's the idea. We're submitting to the Creator. And that's the pilgrimage journey. All of it is about submission. Historically, it started with submission. True or false? When Ibrahim a.s. left his wife and his infant son in the middle of a desert because Allah said so. And he submitted and he turned away immediately and started walking away. So his wife doesn't know what's going on. So she's asking him, who are you leaving us to? In the middle of a desert, there's no water, nothing. So then she asked, Allahu amaraka bihada. Did Allah command you to do that? And when he said yes, what did she do? She submitted immediately. The history of the story was all submission. And then when you go to that journey, it's all submission. Some people try to get fancy. No, I don't greet the black stone, it's just a stone. Really? All Hajj is stones, man. You make tawaf around the Kaaba made of stones. You go up a Safa and Marwa, which are small hills. What are hills? Piles of stones. You greet the black stone. Then you take the jamarat, which are pebbles. What are pebbles? Small stones. And if you don't find, you throw your shoes, right? No, but that's what people are doing. People like insulting and may Allah curse you. There's nobody there. Iblis left. Anyways, but the point is that so these Muslims who think, oh, it's so strict. First of all, we're saying only issues of belief are strict. Other issues, there's a lot of flexibility. But the more you learn, the more you'll see how flexible it is. Yeah? I don't want to give some examples in case that's some kind of official Malaysian stance and like, this guy's just making fun of our exam. Anyways, and there's tons of more things that are permissible than there are things that are not permissible. But people kind of think the opposite. And that is actually the essence of the servant and creator relationship. Allah creates you, you're the creation, and He's the creator. And that's the essence of the relationship. Many times we're giving da'wah in the streets in Washington DC, and someone will say, I would like to become Muslim. I like this idea, all right, and I'll become Muslim, But then it gives us the conditions. But I don't want to pray, and I'll keep eating pork, and I'll keep consuming alcohol. So now, what is a Muslim? We said the Muslim is the one who submits to the Creator. So let me say his sentence one more time. He's saying, yes, I'm willing to submit to the Creator, but I don't want to pray to Him, and I'm not going to stop eating pork, and I'm not going to stop drinking alcohol. But I'm willing to submit. Doesn't really look like it. That's not submission, because Allah commanded us, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, udkhulu fis silmi kafa. O you who believe, enter completely, enter into totality into Islam. None of this 98%, 75%, 100%. So you can't tell me, yeah, I'll become Muslim, but I don't want to do this, this and that. And that's why even this phrase of non-practicing Muslim is paradoxical. It's an oxymoron. It's weird to say that I am a non-submitting submitter. What kind of sense does that make? So we need to find some other word for that. I'm a non-practicing Muslim. Or people euphemize it. They find some euphemism, some nice word to replace it. We have this in our area in Virginia. Sisters who don't wear hijab say, "I'm open." Or we can see. It's all in the open. What do you mean? What do you mean you're open? If you say I'm open, you're saying the ones who wear hijab are what then? Closed-minded then? Yeah. Anyways, so the idea about being a slave of Allah, and we should probably wrap up, don't you think? Yeah. Should we wrap up at some point? No. Okay, but let's just. This doesn't take long. Let's talk about this. The idea of being a slave of Allah. Abd, in the Arabic language, the word abd, it has two meanings. It means a worshipper, and it means a slave. And some people, sometimes, one time I said slave, and someone tells me, servant. So slave is too much. No, Habibi, slave. I'll explain why slave is even more accurate. Because, so we said the word has two meanings in Arabic. Abd means worshipper, and it means slave. How do we know which one is being used? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning me and you, Ya ibadi here, ibad here, slaves of Allah. When the Prophet when Allah Azza wa Jalla uses it referring to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it means in the sense of worshipper. Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi. Glory be to the one who took his abd on a night journey. Abd here, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Does it mean worshipper or slave? Here it means worshipper. And whenever Allah refers to the Prophet ﷺ in the Qur'an as his abd, it means his worshipper. Why? Because worshipper is the higher level. And the greatest thing you can be is a worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Allah is mentioning his messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's mentioning him as his worshipper, the highest level. Because it would have no value to refer to him as his slave, just like meaning his possession, just like I'm his possession, you're his possession, the trees, the buildings, the jinn, everything belongs to Allah. So what's the value of bundling the Prophet ﷺ with everything else? So the higher level is a worshipper, and that's why he always refers to him in that sense. Now, the other sense we said, slave means that you're actually owned by Allah. And some people find this difficult to swallow, that Allah actually owns you. You don't own yourself, Allah owns you. And many people think, no, I own myself. And I can do whatever I want to do as long as I don't step on the toes of the majority. No, it doesn't work like that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually owns you. That's why you look at the Sharia and it goes into very specific details as to what you can and cannot do with your bodies. Why? Because you don't own your body. It's rented. Yeah? When something is rented, you don't own it. You don't have the right to make changes. But Allah gave you certain changes. So if I rent a car, I go to a rental place and I rent a car for 2 days. The car is white, but I wanted to rent a blue car. So I go to the paint shop and I paint it blue. A rental. Can I do that? It doesn't make sense on many levels. Number one, you only have it for a short period of time. And realistically, your body, you have it for a short period of time. The second thing, you don't own it. How can you change the color? This what, like with our bodies, we don't own our bodies. That's why there's certain things we can't do. For example, you cannot put a tattoo on your body. Okay, you cannot disfigure or alter your face, unless in certain, like really bad situations. But long as I don't like my nose, I want it to be a little like this. And then you go Michael Jackson in your nose or something. By the way, did Michael Jackson become Muslim, yes or no? Who says yes? You said yes? Anyone else say yes, that he became Muslim? Allah knows best. So you're not sure. Is anyone here sure that he didn't become Muslim? This was a question that used to plague me for a while. And I actually confirmed from a journalist who has a friend, a journalist, who interviewed, what's his name? Jermaine Jackson. Jermaine Jackson is Muslim. Mainstream Islam. Not some crazy, what's that other thing? Nation of Islam. Mainstream Muslim. And she directly asked him, did Michael Jackson become Muslim? He said no. He showed interest in Islam, but he never became Muslim. This is from his own brother. It's true he wore niqab, but that doesn't mean he became Muslim. Some of you don't know what I'm talking about. There's a picture of him wearing niqab because he didn't want to be bothered, so he's wearing niqab. But that doesn't mean he became Muslim. Anyways, I don't know how we got to Michael Jackson. What were we talking about before that? Yeah, so you can't disfigure your face. Why is Islam going to these rules? Because you don't own your body, so no tattoos. You can't kill yourself. It's haram to kill yourself. It would make sense if I owned myself, I could kill myself. But you don't own yourself, you can't kill yourself. Just like you don't own anyone else, you can't kill them. You don't own yourself, you can't kill yourself. Islam goes into great details into what kind of hairs you can and cannot remove from your body. Yeah, and that's why for women, you're not allowed to shave your head bald. And good luck getting married if you do that. You're not going to get married if you're... There's a brother somewhere out there who's like, I would like a sister who has no hair whatsoever, inshallah. Bismillah. Anyways. But of course, brother standards drop, right? As they get more desperate. There's a brother, this is a true story. He said, I'm not going to marry any woman unless she's wearing full niqab. Full. Memorizing the Qur'an and everything. Then he said, just niqab is okay. Then some months passed. Then he said, hijab, what's wrong with hijab? Bismillah. Hijab is okay also. Find me someone who wears hijab. After a while, months passed, a year passed. He said, maybe even if she's not wearing hijab, but there's khair in her. She prays. Later on, she puts on the hijab. And then after a while, he just said, just female. Khalas, just female. We'll work with the rest later, Anyways, so let's wrap up here, okay? So we don't keep you here all night. Slave shows actual ownership. That's why the Prophet ﷺ taught the companions to not say, this is my slave. Why? Because slave means actual ownership. And you don't own anybody. So he taught them to say, this is my boy, this is my girl. Because you don't own anyone. Only Allah owns us. So Allah owns our bodies. And that's why we can and can't do certain things with our bodies. And that's why we're not free to do as we want with our bodies. Another restriction. But here's the thing. So some people think this restriction applies to Muslims or to religious people only. And you have a philosopher who said that to be a slave, to be free in the hellfire is better than to be a slave in paradise. This man thinks that if he goes to the hellfire, he's going to go as a free person. I mean, first of all, what a crazy idea. That you're imprisoned in the hellfire, but you're free. More free than the guy drinking the juice up there. Are you crazy? That guy's free. But he thinks that you can be a slave of Allah or not a slave of Allah. But on a level, everyone and everything is a slave of Allah. Whether you obey Allah or not, you're a slave of Allah. And if you look in Surah Maryam, it's powerful. Surah Maryam in the Qur'an, Mary, the chapter of Mary, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِن كُلُّ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِلَّا آتِ الرَّحْمَنِ عَبْدًا. Strong. Everyone in the heavens and the earth is going to come as a slave to Allah. And it's so appropriate to be in Surah Maryam. Why? Because they're claiming Jesus to be the Son of God and the other God. And he's saying, including Jesus, he'll come as a slave of Allah. And if he's a God, he can't be a slave. And it's really, really powerful. So whether you obey Allah or not, you're still a slave of Allah. And on the Day of Judgment, you're going to be a slave of Allah. And it's not like they're going to be free people in the hellfire and slaves in paradise. And that was really, really wrong estimation and bad judgment to say, I'd rather be free in the hellfire, which there's no such thing, rather than a slave in paradise. No such thing. Everyone is a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whether you obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not, you're still coming as a slave. So that means the wise person makes the investment now in their time in being a worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so they can get the best out of this world, being freed from their shackles, and the best out of the next world with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think it's appropriate to stop here. And if there's time, obviously, we're more than open to. There's time. So our MC will announce, but we'll do some question and answer. Sallallahu barak Muhammad. Jazakumullah khair for your attentive listening. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah